Hey guys, welcome back to the Free Drop podcast. Delighted today to be joined by Sunshine Tour winner Martin Rohwer. Martin, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, all good. Can't complain too much. Managed to play golf this morning
Oh, epic.
at my home course, Kloof. So yeah, it looks like the tour is starting in about a month's time. So gonna try get the game in shape for when we get back on the road.
Yeah, so what's the latest that you guys have heard? Because I saw yesterday that the IGT have announced that I think they're starting on the 17th of August or something. But in terms of the main tour, what's the word there?
They literally just sent out an email to us yesterday
Oh,
saying that
geez.
they got a few events starting from the 16th of August. So I think there's two straight off the bat, and then I think there's like a week or 2 week break, and then another two events. They're going to be they're not sure what courses, what venues they're going to be at, but I
Okay.
think all of them are going to be pretty much in Joburg and Gauteng area.
But that's
Because I think probably about 70 pros live up there, so
good.
it's probably the most convenient area to have the tournament as opposed to traveling all over the country.
Sure. You must be super amped to get back out there again, cheapers. Sorry, dude. I don't know if I broke up a bit there or what happened.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you just yeah.
no, I was just saying you must be super amped to get back out there. Um, Dude, let me just see. Just want to see if it's my Wi-Fi or yours. Um,
Yeah, Craig, you there?
yeah, I'm there, dude.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. I think it's just classic South Africa pulling through again. Um, but yeah, I mean, as I said, you must be frothing to get back out there. And I mean, what have you found has been the part of your game that has sort of been has taken the longest time to sort of come back after the quarantine and stuff?
I don't know. I'd probably say my iron play, to be honest. Just trying to control the ball flight and control like my numbers and my distances and stuff like that. I think it's quite a big area of the game that people often about.
Mm.
My training and putting and chipping, it just takes me a couple of days to get back into that. But to really kind of flight the ball and move it left to right and right to left with my irons.
Yeah,
Um, that's kind of what I do well when I'm playing my best. So it takes a bit of time to find that, but obviously once I can and I've got control over the shape of the ball and the shape of my shots, then I often
mm.
play well and can kind of compete. Yeah.
Yeah. But you've been busier than most during the whole lockdown. I mean, you want to just sort of get into the whole Eazi Rake concept and how that came about?
Yeah, it's been busy. Yeah, I don't know. I was just sitting at home and me and my mom were kind of chatting a little bit and kind of thinking of what else to do. And there was a similar product like years back where there was kind of like a rake, but it was a lot different, and that people used to rake up their own bunkers. And with the rules that the Golf RSA has come out with no rakes on the bunkers and taking them off the course completely.
Hmm.
I just thought maybe it was a good opportunity to hopefully try design something and that obviously serves a purpose to rake the bunker with not actually having each person can have their own rake. So me and my mate got together. He's in the plastic industry. I kind of went to him and I was like, listen, this is the idea that I have. This is kind of how I want it to look. And he said, yeah, 100%. Let's make it. Let's do it. So it's kind of a combination between me and him. I'm more kind of on the sales side of things, and he's with the manufacturing of the product. But no, it's been working well so far. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how far the product goes and how many people use it at their golf courses.
Yeah, I mean, how many? Do you want to just sort of give us an idea of the numbers and the scale so far? Like, how many clubs are you in, and how many units you think you've sold?
Yeah, I'd probably say between 20 to 25 golf courses all over. I mean, Western Cape, Joburg, Durban. I mean, even Kimberley Golf Course made an order from us. So a lot of golf courses I've never even heard of in my life before. But yeah, no, it's actually been quite overwhelming, to be honest, and it's been really great in terms of there's been a lot of interest in the rake, and hopefully it carries on. And I mean, I don't really know a number. I would probably say anywhere between maybe 6,000 and 9,000 rakes so far. But yeah, we'll see how that grows, and if there is actually value, which I think in the product post COVID-19. I guess the next couple of months we'll see if it really takes off.
Yeah, well, I think even once there's a vaccine, I think people will still be keen to sort of keep potential contact with the virus to a minimum. So I think there'll always be people that will be willing to buy it, which is so cool.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of different avenues that guys can take, because it's quite a unique product. There's huge opportunity in terms of golf days and corporates and stuff. Like if let's say F&B had to come to us and say, listen, we want 200 rakes for our golf day, and they give every one of their golfers or their customers a rake and the goodie bag with a towel, a ball, whatever they put in there, they can throw a rake in. And I mean, it's not overly expensive. I mean, obviously, depending on the quantity that the guys buy, it's anywhere in the range between 40 and 50 rand for a rake. So it's not an overly huge expense for a golfer to make.
Yeah. So how can guys follow the progress of the product on social media and sort of get involved in the whole sort of journey, so to speak?
Yeah, I think we that's probably one area we need to look at a little bit better, to be honest with you, because we've kind of just been, there's a small team. There's only 3 of us operating it at the moment, and there's quite a lot of work just to do, just in terms of manufacturing, the transporting of getting it to the golf courses on time and as quickly as possible, and dealing with the manufacturing and the sales and all that kind of stuff. But I think we are starting to get a bit of a better grip on things. So I think maybe that could be the next move in terms of trying to get it out there on social media as much as we can, and kind of create like an identity around the product.
Yeah, no, for sure. So sort of in the lead up to the podcast, sort of reached out to a couple of former podcast guests in Rourke van der Span and Luke Jerling, and they mentioned that as well as Eazi Rake is going, your Premier League Fantasy League isn't going quite as well. What is it sort of been like? I mean, has it been difficult to sort of figure out what your starting lineup on a week-to-week basis is going to look like post, or sort of after the break? I mean, obviously we've got no idea who was going to be in form and things like that. So how did you piece that together?
No, it's been tough because I mean I'm a Tottenham fan, and I've been for a long time. So I think it took me several months to realize that pumping Spurs players into my team was maybe not the best idea. So I've eventually taken a few out. I left Son in there. But I don't know. The more I play this fantasy league, the more I realize it's just like luck of the draw, to be honest. Because the guys in our league, to be fair, the guys who know the least about football are the guys who are actually winning the league, and the guys who know the most are in the bottom half of the table. So it's a bit of a joke. It's honestly a luck of the draw. I mean, you could put an Aston Villa player in there and he could score a hat trick and get you a whole lot of points. You know, it's just then you could put Harry Kane in and he doesn't score a goal. So it's the last 2 or 3 years I've played. There is a small element of skill, but most of it is complete luck. In my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think it's, obviously for guys that do know quite a bit, you can obviously you can go down a bit of a rabbit hole and become overly analytical and stuff. Whereas if you don't know a hell of a lot, you can't overcomplicate things in a way. And you probably just sort of see an oak and you think, oh, well, I've heard 1 or 2 good things about him, so let me back him, and then he actually does well.
No, I agree. I think the guys who overthink it and change their team constantly, it ends up hurting you in the long run. I think if you kind of pick your players and you stick with a pretty similar team most of the time, where if the guy doesn't score you points this week, he's probably going to score you points next week or if not the week.
Yeah, for sure. But sort of transitioning into your golf, finally after 10 minutes. So would you mind just sort of providing us with a bit of background into your upbringing and where you went to school and things like that, and when you sort of got started in the game?
Yeah, so it pretty much all started, I would say, when I was about 6 or 7 years old. We lived here in Hillcrest, about 20 minutes outside of Durban. I mean, I still live here today, but there was a driving range down the road and a 9-hole mashie course. So my dad used to just take me there on the weekends and sometimes during the week just to hit balls and play the mashie course and mess around. And then I think when I started getting to about maybe 11 or 12, I was playing kind of junior foundation golf and doing well and winning the odd events here and there, and then making like those junior under 13 KZN teams, and we'd go to Fish River Sun in the Eastern Cape like every year and stuff. And then I was then getting into like a competitive environment, but one with other good players from Joburg, Cape Town, all over the country.
Yeah.
I think from then I started to realize, okay, well, I can play, and I obviously can play pretty well. So I'm going to try to take this further. And then I played in as many junior tournaments as I could. I just practice on the weekends as much as I could as well. Being a Kersney also helped because we had a golf team, and the bus would take the guys to the driving range or the golf course, I think 3 times a week from Monday to Friday.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was a lot. And then I'd obviously try to play during the weekend. So I was still like, even throughout school, I was at the course 4 or 5 times a week, which was good, and it obviously helped my game. And then I went on to play SA under 18. My matric year, we went to Namibia. There's a team of 4 of us, and then obviously making that team then obviously created other opportunities going forward.
So we've actually got a comment from Rohwer here, just actually chatting about. I mean, obviously he's clearly got fond memories of it, but I mean, what is it like to grow up with guys and the obviously golf is a very sort of individual game, but sort of grow up with guys and play with them and sort of test your skills against them. Does it help you sort of keep making those strides in your game? Obviously, I mean, I think Rohwer is a few years older than you. So is he someone that you played with quite a bit growing up?
Yeah, I didn't play too much with Rohwer, to be honest. The guys I kind of grew up playing with, at least in Durban, was guys kind of like Bryce Bibby, Calvin Pearson. There's another Indian guy, a good friend of mine, Liren Pillai. He was a great player growing up in our junior days. But yeah, those were more the guys in my area, whereas I think Harvey and Rourke and some of the other guys like Mike Hollick and them were 4 or 5 years older than me. So I just missed them, fortunately. I don't know if I would have made the team with those boys around. But yeah, it was good fun, and I mean, I've still got quite a few of those relationships, and I mean, they're all good friends of mine now, even the guys that have stopped playing golf. But I obviously played with them in the junior days, which was good.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting, hey, like guys go one of 2 ways growing up. You can either sort of balance golf with other sports like rugby or cricket or whatever, or hockey, whatever whatever the case may be, or you just dedicate all of your time to golf. It certainly sounds like you sort of fall into the latter category. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, to a point. To be honest, I was actually arguably a better hockey player than I was a golfer. I mean, I played KZN hockey. I captained KZN hockey team under 12, under 14, under 16. So I was heavily involved with hockey, like all the way up until like probably grade 10. And then I was in the first team Kersney squad, end of grade 9, grade 10, and I kind of had to make a decision. It was hockey was taking up a lot of my time. I was having to go to these camps and stuff over the holidays when I wanted to play foundation events. So eventually, I made a decision like, okay, well, hockey's going to have to take I have to stop playing hockey and take golf full time. So a lot of guys, a lot of the hockey coaches and stuff weren't happy because I was a KZN hockey player. But it's just something that I had to do. If I was going to take sports seriously, you got to choose one or the other. And I think golf is more of an opportunity to golf. I speak to some of these other hockey players and they complain big time. So yeah, no, I'm happy to golf at the end of the day.
Yeah, and sort of once you made that decision, how soon after that did you get your national colours for golf?
I don't know. I got them I got my national colours in matric. My SA Blazer and all of that. But like I was always playing well. Like I almost won the SA Boys under 16. I lost in the playoff at East London Golf Club, SA Boys under 16. I was always there and thereabouts. I never really cracked the nod for any of the junior under 16, under 14 teams. But I was always there and thereabouts. And I think obviously when I decided to take golf more seriously and just play golf and not really play any other sports, I think that's obviously what helped me then make South Africa in my matric and final year.
Yeah. So, I mean, you won the KZN. What is? Just sorry, correct me on the name of the event, but the KZN Invitational or something.
Yeah, the Invitational. Yeah.
Yeah. So you won it in consecutive years in 2011 and 2012. Which was the more memorable of those two events, would you say?
I'd probably say the second one. Just from the fact that being able to defend a tournament that you've won. So the first one was great because I think it was one of my first bigger KZN major tournament wins. So that was great. But I think when you do defend, it's the only time I've ever done it, so I can only say that. But when you do come in as the defending champion, if you want to say that, and then do defend your title, it is a great feeling, And I'd say, the second one was probably definitely felt a bit better than the first.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, it was also at your home track, which must have made it extra special as well. Yeah,
no, for sure. I remember it clearly. It was me and another guy, Gavin Saul, who he's been playing KZN golf for years, Gav. So I think it was me and him kind of coming down the stretch. There was maybe one or two shots in it, and I think I birdied 17, the par 5 at Kloof, to take a 2-shot lead going up 18, which is a par 3. So I kind of knew, pretty much had it in the bag unless he made birdie and I made a drop. But I mean, as soon as I hit the green on the last, I was like, gonna need a miracle from his side to win the tournament. So
yeah,
that was good fun.
That's epic. And I mean, what I noticed is, I think in the first year you shot 70, 64, and then the second year 71, 64, or vice versa. But when did you start sort of developing that ability to go low in rounds and in tournament golf, would you say?
Sure. I would say when I was probably about 16, 17 years old. I started to throw, like, every now and then I'd see like maybe a 66 or a 65 or something. I was able to throw those kind of scores in there. And then obviously when I got to matric and later on, it just happened more often. But I'll definitely say when I got to about 16, and like I said, I almost won SA Boys under 16. I think I shot 65 in one of the rounds. But yeah, ever since then, it kind of like, if I was able to do it at one of the bigger junior tournaments, and there's no reason why I couldn't do it at my home club or Durban Country Club or wherever it was.
Yeah, I suppose it's just a mindset type thing then at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think when I was younger, you kind of have a good start and you 3 under through 8 holes, and now you like know you've got a good round going, and you don't want to mess it up. So you actually subconsciously like get defensive, just because you don't want to mess a good round up. Whereas once you start to shoot a couple 65s or whatever it is, you whether you shoot another 65 doesn't really matter because you've done it before. So you just kind of let go, and if you do mess it up, you mess it up. If you don't, and often that mindset of not really caring whether you're going to play a good round or not often helps, because it takes all the stress off and you actually end up playing well.
No, for sure. And we'll get to a particularly low round you had at Q School in a bit, but just sort of shifting to you've had you had an opportunity to play a bit of golf in the UK as well. If I'm not mistaken, Royal Porthcawl and Carnoustie with the SA guys.
So I didn't I didn't go over with the SA amateur side.
Okay.
It was kind of a whole controversial situation, because I went over to the States and I played. So after I made the junior Springbok side, I went over to America and played college golf over there, which I'm sure we'll talk a bit about later. But anyway, so because I went over there, I wasn't playing any amateur events in South Africa, and I wasn't getting any points to make the South African amateur side.
Oh, okay.
So, sure. but on the world amateur rankings, I think I was like first or second ranked player in the world, in terms of out of the South African players.
Yeah.
So, like, in my opinion, I fought like hard with the South African Golf Association, the SAGA at the time, which is now Golf RSA.
Yeah.
That I should have made those teams, because I was ranked one of the highest players on the world rankings, but obviously I wasn't on the South African golf rankings because I wasn't playing any events at home because I was in the States playing.
Yeah.
But those tournaments I ended up just going to on my own and just playing obviously for myself. And those two British Ams at Porthcawl and Carnoustie, I just went on my own limb and played just because I wanted to experience myself.
Yeah, and what was that experience like? Because obviously conditions in Wales and Scotland are quite different from Durban. What was that transition like?
Yeah, I tell you, the toughest thing for me with the links golf is because especially I went straight from being in the States to go play that Porthcawl and, like you say, Carnoustie. I've played in a lot of windy and Durban before, so the windy conditions maybe not really maybe as cold as some of the conditions over in the UK. Cool. But for me, the toughest thing to gauge is the firmness of how the golf courses play. Like I was going straight from America, where if you got 150 meters to the pin, it's a 150-meter shot,
Yeah.
Whereas you get the number in the UK or at Carnoustie or wherever, it's 150 pin, but you might only have to hit a 135-meter shot because it's firm in the front of the green and it's going to take one bounce and kick forward.
Yeah.
So, like, judging the firmness of the golf courses and where you need to land the golf ball, what I needed to get adjusted to, more so than like dealing with the conditions and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I've chatted to a few guys that have gone over there, like Gary Kigger and Luca Filippi and stuff, and they didn't actually speak about it in that sort of detail. So that's epic to get that sort of insight. But yeah, so chatting about college golf, I mean, how did that opportunity come about, and why did you go the route that you did? Was that always your plan ultimately, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I would say I always wanted to go overseas and play, because I know Rourke went overseas, and there were a few other guys who I know had got the college experience. And I only saw good things, and a lot of them had a lot of positive things to say about their experience over there. So I always kind of saw it as my direction and the path that I wanted to take. Yeah. So it all happened. I was applying to colleges, and I was getting a few emails back saying we're interested, and getting a few offers. But then the University of Alabama, Birmingham, contacted me, and they actually called. I was at Kearsley, and I got a phone call from the US on my phone. I answered it, and it was the US coach. That was a coach at the time, and he obviously in his American accent was like, "How's it, Martin? How are you?" And they actually offered for me and my dad to fly over there on the January before I went there in August, just to see the golf courses, see the facilities, just before I actually committed and made a decision. So I just thought that was a great gesture on their behalf anyway, to offer to pay for my flights and everything over there, just so I can see the facilities and stuff beforehand. And then as soon as I got over there and I saw a couple of the golf courses that they were playing on, I said, I'm in. Where do I sign, So I was extremely happy that I made that choice.
That's so cool that they gave you that opportunity and didn't sort of say, okay, well, you've got to get there on your own dime, and if it works out, it works out, but if it doesn't, then whatever. No, that's epic. And so I presume that was, you finished matric in the December and then flew over in Jan, eh?
Yeah, no, that was in the January. So I obviously matriculated December, because I don't even know, 2011. And then January 2012, I flew over with my dad, checked out the campus, all the facilities, and then signed the paper and committed to going there. And then I went in August. August 2012, I actually went over there for like my first semester and started the varsity.
And what was that initial experience like? Because I mean, I've chatted to quite a few players that have gone that route, and they've had very, very differing experiences. But what was yours like? I mean, obviously from a results standpoint, it's pretty clear you were quite successful, but did you sort of settle into the culture and stuff quite quickly?
Yeah, it was for me. Lucky enough, I was in a boarding school at Kearsley, so I was kind of used to being away from home for a couple of weeks at a time. So
sure,
being away from family and friends wasn't too hard at first. And luckily, the team that I was a part of and I joined was a 50-50 split in terms of there was 10 guys on the squad, and 5 were international guys and 5 were American guys. So, I mean, there were guys from England, Ireland, Wales, Australia. So, like, I wasn't the only one on the team who was away from home. So, like, us or most of us, I mean, we were really good friends with American guys. But the international players definitely stuck together quite a lot, because we were all pretty much in the same boat in terms of like we'd flown from a foreign country,
yeah,
to live in, and we at least kind of had each other in terms of when the American guys went away for the weekend or they went home for the weekend or the holidays, there was at least 4 or 5 of us international guys still on the campus, and we would hang out and do stuff, and I do different things and practice together, and so that made it a lot easier in terms of like the initial move. There is that there were other guys with me who were also foreigners as well.
Yeah, it does make a huge difference, I'd imagine, because I mean, I've got a couple mates who've gone over in recent times, and they've struggled because they haven't really clicked necessarily with the culture and with the people around them, and it can become really, really lonely, especially if you're not playing your best golf. Obviously, you just sort of went from strength to strength over the years, but how would you rate the step up that you had to sort of undergo from a competitive standpoint?
Yeah, it was quite tough, to be honest. Because I knew coming from Durban and KZN and stuff, I was always one of the better golfers in my age group. And then you arrive there, and then it's 10 guys in the squad, and only 5 get to go to golf tournaments. So you're competing, and there's qualifying and stuff just within the team to see who makes it to travel and go to the tournament. So if you're not playing well, you won't make the side, and you won't get to travel to the events. And I mean, I know some of the, luckily enough, I managed to play well and make most of the tournaments. But I mean, I saw it all the time. I mean, there were guys on our team who often wouldn't play an event for months just because they couldn't play well enough to get on the side. So that was an eye opener in terms of like I need to make sure I'm practicing hard, because I'm gonna be sitting at home when the bus leaves for the tournament and the 5 golfers get on the bus and they go to the event, and you stuck in the res, not playing, and all the other guys are having a great time playing events in Florida, South Carolina, all that kind of stuff. So it definitely was a step up, because as competitive as it was in KZN and in South Africa, it was never really that like cutthroat in terms of like there was always a next event. You know, if I went and played a junior tournament in Joburg, if I didn't play well, then I would be able to play the next event in Durban. So whereas in the States, if you're not making the side, you're not you're not playing the tournament. So it was a lot tougher. So, but in a good way, you know. I think that type of stuff helps you develop as a golfer.
No, and I think what I found was interesting was not only were you like consistently in the side, but you were contributing often. I mean, I think in the one season you had the highest percentage of sort of counting rounds. I think you had 87% in potentially your second and your third years, which is pretty impressive. And I think that must have certainly validated the decision that you made.
Yeah, for sure. The thing is, you can see yourself improving. You know, I mean, because with the golf stats and some of the stats that these college golf coaches keep, you can analyze your game really well. You know, and you can see from year to year where you're improving, what you're doing better, what you're doing worse. And then like you say, from year to year, I was seeing my results improve. I was seeing my stats improve. So from a confidence point of view, it was a great thing. And like you said, it definitely validated the decision that I made, because I was literally seeing the proof that I was improving from year to year whilst I was there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think when all was said and done, I mean, you had certainly an excess of 20 top 10s. I mean, that's insane consistency over 4 years. But I'm curious to find out, like, compare and contrast the level of pressure that you felt, or that you felt at a regular college event versus the NCAA championships when you made it in your third year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. No, that the NCAA championships was, well, I mean, it was a big event. Our team managed to make it my second year, third year, and fourth year. So we made that event 3 years in a row, which was
sure.
which is really good. I mean, if only the top 30 teams in Division 1 in the country end up going to the national championship. So just for our team to make it was really good. But it is. I mean, it's just a big golf tournament. Like every single college side that has been done well throughout the season ends up there at the end of the season, and now you're playing for the national championship. It's televised. The Golf Channel's there. Like the course is set up like really good, and it's just, in my opinion, it's probably in line with the British Am and the US Am, like in terms of strength of field and the golfers that are there playing. Like it's almost like a professional event. The guys that you see winning, like I remember the guy who won the one I played, or one of the ones I played in Florida. We played a concessions club. Was DeChambeau, and then the following year we played in Oregon, and Aaron Wise won the event in Oregon, and I mean there you've got like two PGA Tour winners right there. So like if any of the junior college guys, the South Africans who are there now, who have the opportunity to play in that golf tournament. They'll see. There'll be some future PGA Tour players in that event that they'll see down the line. Hopefully they end up being one of those. But it's good. It's good to see the level of play and what's needed to perform at the highest level.
Yeah. What do you think of what DeChambeau's done in the last few months? Physically, it's quite hectic, eh?
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I must say. Yeah, he's amazing in my opinion. Like I've never really seen that many golfers. I mean, most of the professional athletes, PGA Tour players, and all that are like really disciplined athletes, And when they set their mind to something, they often like accomplish it. But DeChambeau, in my opinion, is on another level in terms of like discipline. And if he makes a decision and he wants to make a change in his game and he wants to do this, he goes out and he does it like day in, day out, 24/7, and he makes that change like as best as he can, which is really impressive. Because I mean, I know a lot of guys have in the past tried to put on weight and hit the ball a lot further, and it hasn't really worked out. So
yeah,
it's amazing to see. Honestly, it just goes to show that with the right work ethic, and if you do work on the right things, you can make serious improvements in this game.
No, it's hectic, and I mean, to be honest, I was thinking that, like after guys having seen what happened or what has happened to Tiger, like Oaks may be put off by that and be like, oh well, better to preserve my physical state over a longer period. But clearly DeChambeau hasn't really been too phased by that.
Yeah, no, from what I've read and kind of seen briefly about it is he's managed to maintain his flexibility and improve of his flexibility and mobility whilst putting on that weight and that strength, which I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think Tiger was the same. But I'm not 100% sure. But that's obviously what is DeChambeau saying, is that he's still flexible and mobile.
Yeah.
So it's fine. He's still going to prevent getting an injury with the fact that he's still mobile. But I mean, he's put on I don't know how many kgs. So I think he's done it the right way. So we'll see how it all works out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I heard from Luke that Paul Dunn was actually on the team with you. Is that correct?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I spent 3 years. 3 years with Paul. Yeah, he was a very nice guy and like a great golfer.
That 2015 Open must have been wild for you guys to watch, eh?
Yeah, because he had just left because I was 1 year behind him,
Okay.
When I came in, he was a sophomore, a second year in the team. So, and I remember he had just left college in June, and he played the Open was I think in July.
Yeah.
So I just remember I actually stayed in America over that summer to play events, and my roommate, another guy, Will Cannon, I was sleeping in. I was like 8:30 in the morning, and he like knocked on my door, and he was like, "You won't believe it, Paul's leading the Open," and I'm like,
What?
"Don't talk a load of shit, whatever." And then he's like, "No, I'm being serious. Paul's leading the British Open." So I was like, "No way." So then, and this was on the Saturday. I knew he was in like 25th place or 30th
Yeah,
place or
yeah, yeah.
something. Especially as an amateur, he was doing really well. So and then I woke up and like stumbled to the lounge and like looked at the TV and Tris Bob like leading the British Open. I was like, and it was weird because he's a really good friend of mine, and I mean we would go to the range together every single day. We'd practice together every single day. You know, go to the tournaments. Like we'd go out together, have a few drinks. Like he was actually when I was over there, probably one of my best friends.
Jeez.
And then to turn on the TV and you see your mate leading the British Open, and you're like, it feels a bit surreal, to be honest.
That's wild. And I mean, he hung around for like late on Sunday. He was still in the picture.
Yeah, I remember it was weird because he finished his third round on the Saturday, and then the Sunday there was terrible conditions, wind and rain. Like I think it was a storm that came up by St Andrews there, and it ended up being delayed to a Monday start. So he said to me it was the most nerve-wracking thing having to hang around and like for like a whole day and 2 nights, knowing you're leading the Open and like just waiting to tee off, and there's going to be like tens of thousands of people watching you. So he says it was excruciating because he wasn't getting much sleep, and like you can't think of anything else besides for the fact that like you're in that position. You know, you try to think of something else for 5 seconds, and then your mind goes back to like, oh shit, I'm tired leading the British Open. So he said it was tough, but yeah, I know he handled himself well. I know he started with I think like 2 bogeys, but then he came straight back with like another 2 bogeys, and he was kind of thereabouts until 9. And I think Spieth and Louis and them started kind of breaking away from there.
Yeah. But it must be pretty cool to like know that you guys played so much golf together, practiced together all the time, and to see how he's kicked on as a pro, it must give you a lot of like, I mean, you must be thinking that your time is pretty imminent as well.
Yeah, it does. I would say it gives you a lot of confidence, especially if I compared our kind of 2 college careers. He was probably a little bit better, I'd say. He was an All-American, which I never managed to achieve. But it was probably 50-50 in terms of tournaments that he beat me in versus tournaments that I beat him. So it was like obviously seeing that and seeing the success he had on the European tour, it was quite eye-opening in terms of fact, like, okay, well, listen, if I just put my head down, remain disciplined and work on my game, it's possible, and I can play at a higher level. So it's great. And besides for that, it's just nice to see someone do well. It's always great to see like friends and mates and stuff play well and achieve things that they've been working for so long. And especially with Paul, I mean, he was probably one of the hardest workers that I've ever seen, honestly. I mean, he was not only on the range, but short game, chipping, putting, like extremely hard working guy. And to see him achieve the things that he did, it was actually really cool because you kind of know, because you've seen firsthand how much hard work's gone in behind the scenes, and so you can only really be happy for the guy when he starts to achieve some of his goals, I guess.
No, 100%. It's it must be epic. But at what point did you start thinking? Sort of, was it as your college career was wrapping up? Did you start thinking, well, what's next?
Yeah, I would say I'd say definitely I didn't really think about much during my college years. I mean, I was just kind of playing and trying to play as well as I could for the varsity. But then when my final year, I was playing events and like in the back of my head, you're kind of thinking like, what am I going to do after school, after varsity? Like, where am I going to go? Should I stay in America for longer? Should I try going to Europe or should I go back home to SA? Like, and to be honest with you, my final year in college, I probably didn't play as well as some of my other years, just because I was always thinking of what's next, and what am I going to do next year when all this college stuff ends.
Yeah.
But I always knew I wanted to go play pro, and luckily towards the end of my final year in college, I signed with a management company called Black Star Sports.
Okay.
And they offered me 7 events on the challenge tour, as invites, and then so those were so I finished. Sorry, so I'm just going to explain. So I finished varsity in August, and then from the following year, in January, they offered me 7 events in the challenge tour. So it made sense for me to try play a bit of challenge tour in the summer, and then try get my Sunshine Tour card and play on the Sunshine Tour during the South African summer.
Yeah.
But like at least towards the end of my college final year, I knew, okay, well, I'm gonna play June, July, August. I'm gonna play on the Challenge Tour, and then I'm gonna come to South Africa, try get my card, and try play on the Sunshine Tour during the South African summer. So like at least before I graduated, I knew like I had kind of a schedule and what kind of route I was gonna take from there. Yeah.
It is a vibe that you had options, because I think there's so many guys that, they finish up and it's like, then it's like their options are very, very limited, and it's difficult, because then it's like, if your only option is to go to Q school here, then it's like make or break, and if you don't get it, then that's it for another year or whatever it is. But what was that challenge tour experience like?
No, it was amazing, to be honest with you. It was really, really good. So basically how it ended up unfolding was I played the tour school in, I think, January, Sunshine Tour. So then I got my card through the tour school on the Sunshine Tour. Played a few events like Zim Open, Zambia Open, Investec Swazi, all that type of stuff. And then the winter tour in SA came, and then I went over to the Challenge Tour and played 6 events on the Challenge Tour in Europe. So I was there for like 2 months, 2.5 months, playing. But it was a great experience, because, to be honest, I went over there. I missed my first 3 cuts on the Challenge Tour, and I was even thinking like, listen, I've got 3 events left over here. Like, what's the point? I mean, I'm not really. I've got to like win or come second to gain a category or whatever. So I was contemplating just coming home and just playing the winter series, and then I eventually just thought like, what am I? This is a fantastic opportunity. I mean, I had events in Northern Ireland, events in Sweden, and an event in France, I think it was, and I was like, I'm going to get way more experience from this, even if I don't play well, than going back home and taking the easy option playing on the winter tour. So I ended up playing those last 3 events in the challenge, and I played a lot better. I didn't play unbelievable, but I've had like I think all 3 events were in the top 25, I think. So I at least went from missing the first 3 cuts to finishing the top 25 in the final 3 events that I did. I mean, I didn't gain a category, or I didn't get exempt onto the Challenge Tour after those events, which I was hoping to do. But it definitely taught me how to travel. You're traveling by train, and then you're staying in hotels. People don't speak the same language. They don't eat the same food. So at least I think even from those, it was only like 2.5 months. If I was to potentially maybe get on the Challenge Tour or European Tour, I would at least use that experience to help me travel a bit better and just cope with things a bit easier.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you must be super pumped that I think now we've got a few co-sanctioned events with the Challenge Tour, because I mean, it gives you quite a bit of opportunity going forward to try and gain status in Europe at some point again. But shifting back to Q School, obviously that we've got to talk about that for a bit because you did incredibly well. What would you say is the key to a good week? I mean, is it just a case of plodding along and being consistent, or is it like being consistent but then having like one low round as you did? I think you had a fourth round 65. What would you say is the key to actually getting a good category and stuff?
Yeah, I don't know the way. Luckily enough, that Q School and the Sunshine Tour, like I knew I had those events on the Challenge Tour coming up, so
yeah,
it wasn't necessarily like a make or break. If I didn't get my card on the Sunshine Tour, I had no events to plan. I still had some kind of backup,
sure.
Which definitely helped. But I think the way I approached that Q School was actually quite good, and I've used it in a few tournaments, even afterwards. But I had a system where I took the yardage book, and I just created. I think it was 72 holes at Tour School. Well, it was 72 first stage, and then maybe 5 rounds.
Yeah, I think it was 90 holes or something, and
90 holes. The second final stage. So anyway, so for instance, on the first stage, I just put named 1 to 72 on the back of my yardage book, and each hole and each shot that I played on each hole, I just ticked off, like each shot, each hole, boom, and like just went through it, and it gave me perspective in terms of like every time I flipped to the back of my yardage book, I could see there were like so many holes left, like even if I made a bogey or a double bogey, I would flip back there and I'd be like, okay, well, we've got 53 holes left.
Yeah,
like it's okay, there's a lot of opportunity to rectify that and make birdies and do whatever. So that kind of system definitely helped me out, especially in a Tour School when your mind like maybe goes races ahead and you're wondering whether you're going to make it or not, whether you're going to get your card. Just kind of staying one shot, one hole at a time, and just ticking each shot off, boom, boom, next one, tick off, and try commit as much as you can to every shot.
That's epic. I've never thought about approaching it like that in so much detail, and also, yeah, I suppose seeing it on paper and actually seeing that, sure, you may have made a bogey on a hole, but it may actually only be hole 25 of 90.
Yeah, exactly. That's
pretty reassuring.
Yeah, no, and it puts in perspective. For me, it just put in perspective, and it just made you relax, because you realize, like, listen, it's not the end of the world. We've still got 65 holes left. It's okay, Whereas maybe if you're not in that mindset, and maybe in a different mindset, you might panic a little bit, or you might start to like maybe stress or whatever. Where, for me at least, I know that strategy definitely helps.
Yeah, and sort of, you've been on tour for 3 years now, and if there was something that you could tell your sort of rookie self to sort of watch out for in that first season out, or whatever, or something you could go back and do differently, what would that be?
I would say just fresh as much as possible. Like I noticed when I was probably younger, like my rookie year or whatever, I would often play an okay round, maybe not great, or play a bad round of golf, and I'd go to the driving range and I'd try like slug it out for like 2 hours on the range after my round. Trying to find a swing, trying to find something. And that's only after round 1, and then I've still got then I arrived during round 2, and I'm already like poked, and I'm like I've got no energy, and I'm tired, and I'm slow, and like completely overworked. Whereas I've noticed in these last couple of years, like I definitely work in smaller period of time. Like if I need to go to the range, I'll go for like 30 minutes, and like that's it. Then like you have to maybe go to the gym maybe after that, but then you have to get your rest. Your rest is equally as important as like your practice times and everything like that. If you're not fully recovered, then you're not going to perform at your peak. And I know Garrick, he wears that watch and stuff, so he'll know all about recovery stuff. Whereas I don't wear a Whoop watch. But I understand the benefits of rest and getting your 8 hours of sleep every night and making sure you're eating the right stuff so you recover better. So I'd say definitely my rookie year, I was just trying to practice as much as I can if things weren't going well, which was probably the wrong mindset.
And yeah, just sort of shifting to this past season. I mean, it's interesting looking at your record. I think you missed your first cut and then finished 52nd in your next, and then had, I think, a month off or so, and then won in Swaziland. But obviously that's a different tournament because it's stable fit or modified stable fit. But how much did that, the change of format and obviously the break as well, but what would you attribute that turnaround in fortunes to?
Yeah, I don't know. It was quite surprising the start of last season, because the season before I managed to make it to the Tour Championship, and I played well at Serengeti in the Tour Championship. I think I finished like 8th or 9th. In the Tour Championship, the final event of my second season, and then we literally traveled to Kitwe in Zambia the following week. Like there was not even a week rest between the two seasons.
Jeez.
So then I went to Kitwe, and I was like, I just didn't really know where to look, because I was like, in a new season, okay, that's done. Like, where do I stand? What's this? And then I was a bit slack with my preparation and played terrible that week in Kitwe. Managed to like salvage something for the following week in Lusaka. Still not hitting it great, but just like kind of made the cuts and just hung on for like whatever position. But then I had a month off after that, and it's been weird, because I've noticed that like every time I've had a bad stretch of events, I've been able to analyze myself even better, whereas when you play well and you're like on a good streak, like you don't really think about what you're doing, and that's a good thing in a sense, but you maybe lose track of the areas that you need to work on. Whereas like after those two events, the beginning of my third season, I went back for that month off, and I just said, okay, well, I've started this season badly. I've missed a cut and then finished 52nd or whatever in the second event. What's going wrong? What are the issues of concern? And I really like made myself work hard and figure out what areas need improvement. And I made the necessary adjustments, and I ended up winning that event in Swaziland after that. So in hindsight, you could say maybe if I'd played well in those first two Zambian events, I wouldn't have had that same mindset in terms of like, okay, well, let's clear, like let's open up the canvas, and see what the problem is here, and like I might have just carried on as per normal, and I wouldn't have recharged and reset everything like I did after those two bad tournaments.
It's weird, hey, when you think about that, because I mean it's that old cliche of like you don't really learn from your successes, you learn from your failures. But yeah, I mean, what was that, being in, I mean, I'm pretty sure you had at least a share of the lead the whole way through after every round of that event. But what was it like being in contention, and how would you say you managed to switch off in between rounds? Because obviously it can be quite a draining week if you're thinking about it the whole time.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I've before that I had kind of been around the lead in a couple of events before. Luckily, like I think I led the Cape Town Open for a bit, the PGA, and not many at all. Like just a few tournaments here and there. But it was just I managed to handle it that week. I slept well. I managed to keep busy when I wasn't on the golf course. Like we went for dinners every night. Actually, my mate Darren, who he caddied for me like for a good stretch for like a year and a half, 2 years. He caddied that event, and he was a nice guy to have just around in terms of like after you left the golf course. Chat about other things that are not golf related, and it kind of takes your mind off of what's happening. So it was good, and it's a fun event. They have functions every night, so they put on a whole spread with buffets, and they have different artists singing and all that type of stuff. So the rounds just kind of like go so quickly, like, and you're playing with amateurs and stuff as well. So before you know it, you're in the third or fourth round, and you're there and thereabouts, and so it's a good week in that sense. There's a lot going on, so it's not like you at the golf course and then you're back in the hotel room for 4 or 5 hours to go to sleep. So I think that helped me in a sense in that perspective.
Yeah, and I mean you won by 12 points. Put into perspective, is 12 points like, obviously it is a lot on paper, but did it feel comfortable? Like in that last round, did you feel like you sort of like coasted it, or was it a bit of a grind?
Yeah, I don't know. I started really well, to be honest, in that final round. Like I birdied the first, and then made a couple of pars. And the guys around me weren't doing much either, to be honest with you. That was the fortunate thing. I think I was playing with Daniel Green and Jake Russ in the final round. And they weren't doing much. They were kind of throwing in 1 or 2 bogeys and mostly pars and maybe 1 birdie here and there. So at least after 6 or 7 holes, I think I birdied the 7th to go 2 or 3 under, and that's when I kind of knew, like, let's just keep it in front of you, and you should be all right. Let them have to make the birdies, and then at least if I don't make any mistakes, I should be all right.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, when that final putt dropped, the relief and just the sort of like elation must have been proper.
Yeah, no, it was good. I would say the biggest relief for me was like 17 as a par 5. And I mean, I pretty much had it wrapped up already by then. But there's water all around the green, and there's a lot of trouble and things like that can go badly, I guess. But I went for the green in 2, and I hit it to about 12 foot. And as soon as I hit that shot and I saw it finished up, that was like, I knew I'd pretty much won the golf tournament. I mean, even the way the format was, because you can't make more than a double bogey. Like you get -1 for a bogey and then -3 for a double bogey or worse. So like whether you make a double bogey or a quadruple bogey, it's still -3.
Yeah.
Whereas a birdie is like 2 points, and then an eagle is like +5 points. So the guys I was playing with were even joking. It was a par 3, the finishing hole. They were saying, like, listen, you can pretty much just pick up a drive and hit it straight over the green out of bounds, and you still got the golf tournament, because I was 12 points ahead, and the worst that I could make was -3 for points for a double bogey or worse or whatever. So I had it pretty much wrapped up. I didn't even have to play the last. I would have picked up my ball and put it in the golf bag and still won the tournament.
Must be a nice position to be in. But clearly, you quite enjoy courses that finish with par 3s, eh?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Even those cases in invitationals, Kloof Country Club ends with a par 3 as well.
Sort of, as I said that, I was like, flip, I hope I've got that correct and haven't put my foot in it. But yeah, I mean, what are the celebrations like afterwards?
No, it was good fun. One of my good mates from school actually, and his butt they've been working in Swaziland. So they actually came to watch the final round. And then my dad also drove up from Durban as well. So it was good to have them there. And then, obviously they had the function in the evening, and we had a few drinks, and then, we wandered into the casino for a little bit. But it was good fun. I was so knackered after the whole 4 days. I don't think I lasted that late. But we did have a lot of fun afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sure. And what, how does that sort of performance then sort of carry you through the rest of the season? I mean, did you just sort of, were you super consistent for the rest of the season? I mean, how much of a surprise was what happened at the SA Open?
Yeah, I mean, if you had told me that beforehand, I might have been like, okay, that's a really good result. But I mean, I've been playing well the whole season. I mean, in the winter tour, I made 6 out of 6 cuts. Like I think I went through a stage where I made 10 cuts in a row. I played really well throughout the whole season, and only really had 1 or 2 bad tournaments here or there. So I knew, and I was in contention a little bit at the Dunhill as well, like probably middle of the second round, kind of there, and then I kind of let it slip, maybe end of the second round, third round. But in terms of the SA Open, I was playing so well in the practice round, and my coach was caddying for me, and we just said, like, listen, if we just stick to our own game, that we can have a really good week. So even before the week started, I knew that there was potential for me to play really well. I just, I didn't get in front of myself and stayed out of my own way. There was potential to have a really good week. So, and I did, and I played really well that third round, and got myself into contention, which was nice.
How much does what happens in the practice round, how much does that dictate your mindset for the rest of the week? Like, if you play a particular hole badly in practice, do you then sort of stand on the tee in the tournament and do you think back to what's happened, or is it like a clean slate?
Yeah, luckily for me, I honestly, to be honest, I would consider myself mentally quite good in terms of that type of stuff. I forget quite easily.
Okay.
But in terms of the practice rounds, I would say if I play badly overall, not really looking at a specific hole, if I don't great, I don't hit it well in the practice round, then I do stress maybe a little bit, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to figure this out. How I'm going to play this golf course, how I'm going to get around the best way possible. Whereas if you ease around the golf course in the practice round, you've got all the shots, you're hitting it in the right areas, you're seeing your lines, then like definitely makes you more relaxed and like kind of listen, my swing's in position, I'm hitting the ball well. Let's just figure a game plan out and try execute the best way possible. Whereas maybe if you're not playing well, you try to hustle a little bit to find a way that you can play. That's going to get you the result possible.
Yeah. And I mean, what is it like having a front row seat to that 62 by Brandon Grace in the final round?
Yeah, I'm just going to turn the lights on you, Craig. So
yeah,
it's getting a little bit.
I might actually do the same.
Yeah, I think let's have a sip of water as well. Oh. Yeah, what was that you were saying?
No, about the final round. I mean, obviously you played solidly shooting 70, but what was it like having a front row seat to Brandon's 62?
Yeah, it was hard to watch, but it was great, to be honest with you, and to see someone like him kind of play and win a golf tournament like that was amazing, because he wasn't playing great the whole day, to be honest with you, in my opinion, and I'm sure if someone had to ask him himself, he wasn't hitting the ball well at all. He was hitting it in some terrible spots. I mean, some of the tee shots he hit were were honestly quite bad. But he got around it, and he putted really well, and he grinded it out, and he ended up shooting a really, really good score and winning the tournament. So from that perspective, it was great to see that even a guy like that not having his A game, which is quite scary, that he can still go out and win the tournament. So he was a pleasure to play with. I mean, he said good shot, he said well played, he did all that nice stuff. So it was actually it was a pleasure to play with him. So he's a really nice guy.
No, that's really, really cool to hear. I think a lot of people don't really know what guys are like actually to be around them, and they just see numbers on a leaderboard, on a scorecard. So that's epic to hear. But I mean, how much does this season overall, how much confidence does that give you heading into the season ahead? I mean, you finished 8th on the money list, earned over $1 million in cash. That must be a pretty cool feeling, and one which I'm sure you're looking to continue.
Yeah, sure. I mean, luckily that that win came with a few exemptions as well. So at least like another year's pretty much exempt on the tour, which is nice because I can take advantage of maybe some opportunities that appear overseas, and not really worry too much about my position here in South Africa. But yeah, I think it was just a justification for a lot of hard work that I put in, and it was nice to see that if I do play well and I play the golf that I know I can play, that I can compete and I can compete at a high level. So obviously, trying to play that all the time is the trick. But at least in the back of my head, I know like if I come and I've got my A game, I can compete with some of the best golfers in South Africa, which is really nice.
No, it is epic, and I mean, I think a lot of guys sort of take a long time to really find their place on tour, and the fact that you found it so quickly is super, super cool to see.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Hopefully, I mean, I've moved from to season the last 3 years. It's going to be hard to beat the season that I've just had. But I do feel like throughout my career, from junior days to ever, it has been constant growth. Whereas maybe some other players, like the guys I used to play against, like Stone and Porteous and Bezuidenhout and those guys, their graph, if you want to say that, has had like higher peaks earlier on than maybe mine. Whereas I would definitely say mine's more of a constant increase and incline in terms of results and achievements and stuff. And if I can maintain that and make sure that I'm constantly improving that in that shape and form, I'll hopefully be overseas playing or in Europe or wherever in the next years.
Yeah. So what are your immediate goals? Would you say?
I would say number one, to get a full card on the Challenge Tour, and if not European Tour. Obviously, I'd like to play on the European Tour as soon as possible, but I do understand that getting on the Challenge Tour is probably an easier goal right now. And if I can get a full card on there and play a whole season on the Challenge Tour and really give myself an opportunity through that to try get into Europe, that's probably my immediate goal. And then see from there. I mean, I was supposed to play a few Challenge Tour events now in June, July, August time. I think I was supposed to play like 3 or 4 Challenge Tour events, just because of where I finished on the Order of Merit and some of those other results I had at Data and Cape Town Open and stuff. And then I've got I'm exempt into the Dunhill Links in Scotland in October. So that's obviously quite a cool event. They play St Andrews, Kingsbarns, and Carnoustie. so yeah, I'm exempt for that until October. So that's obviously something I'm looking forward to. That's probably the only event that I've got over in Europe. I mean, they've even cancelled the European Tour Q School this year, which I was hoping to get exempt into the final stage.
Okay.
Where I finished on the rankings on the Sunshine Tour, if not at least the second stage. So yeah, I mean those are all coming up. I think the Dunhill's still going to be played. Just need to figure out how I'm going to get over there, and if I have to do a quarantine or I don't actually know. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think hopefully those exemptions will all get carried over till next year.
Yeah. So have your mates and your family members started lobbying to be your amateur partner at the downhill links?
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a few candidates. I mean, more guys offering to caddy for me more than anything, because I think the amateurs are already like, I don't know, they're all like celebrities and stuff like that, and other like Jan Rupert's friends and all that stuff. So
okay.
But yeah, so I have got a few caddy offers for that tournament. So we'll see. I have to go through the applicants and see who qualifies.
That's wild. And I presume no one who's above you on the fantasy leaderboard.
No, unless they're willing to take some of my end of season punishments. No, none of them are going to have a chance, to be honest.
Yeah, that's actually quite a good note to end on. What are your end of season punishments if you don't sort of make up ground in the next couple of games or whatever it is?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know last place is the worst. I think you have to. I mean, it's like you've got to pay like a certain amount of fines, and then there's like a few rumblers that you have to down, and then you have to wear like the guy who wins the league. The guy has to pick a jersey for the guy who comes last, and that guy has to wear that jersey for every day for a week. So I know Jared Harvey came last in the fantasy league last year, and the guy who won made Harvey wear Tottenham Hotspur shirt for a week. So we're in Swaziland, and I think we played the Lombard Insurance or something like that. But he every single day after golf for that whole week, he had to wear a Tottenham shirt to dinner, everywhere. So I don't know. I think I'm about 50 points clear of last place. So whether I come second to last or third to last, that doesn't really faze me as long as I don't finish in dead last, then I'm absolutely fine.
Which I presume the jersey you'd probably most or like least like to wear is probably the Arsenal one, eh?
Yeah. No, I know Chris, one of the English guys, Chris Cannon. He's a big Arsenal fan. I think he would love nothing more than me to be stuck in an Arsenal jersey for a week, to be honest.
No, that's
but we beat them 2-1 on the weekend, so
yes, I saw that actually. Yeah,
I can brag about that.
Yeah, that's epic, dude. But you've been super gracious with your time, and I just want to say, like, best of luck with the season ahead. Cool that you guys have got a bit more clarity.
Yeah.
Now, but, how can guys give you a follow on social media and sort of track your progress?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Twitter. I don't really use Facebook too much, but I'm gonna see maybe this season I might post a few more things in terms of Instagram and social media, just so you guys can get an insight on what it's like to be on the road and on tour and going from event to event and stuff. Whereas, to be honest, I don't post all that much on social media. I could probably post a lot more. But we'll see. Maybe this season I'll give a bit more insights on what happens in the life of a traveling pro.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't quite appreciate the grind that you guys go through on a week to week and month to month, and I suppose every year pretty much. It's hectic, bro. It's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah. No, I remember the beginning of this year, starting with the SA Open, we went on like a 7-week stretch of events. And by the end of it, you've lost like 5 kgs, like you're mentally tired, like 8 hours sleep isn't enough. Yeah, you're just trying to hang on, at the end of it. And you're literally traveling all over the country, Cape Town to Joburg, to Limpopo, to George. And like, as much fun as it is, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, there are times when I'm like, I wish I just had a Monday to Friday job and I could like have a few beers on the weekend with my mates, to be honest.
Yeah, but now you're sort of in that scenario where you don't actually want to be seeing your mates on the weekend because it means you've missed the cut.
No, exactly. Yeah. So I will see. I actually can't wait. I mean, this whole lockdown, I think a lot of people are going to be a lot more gracious for the tournament that we get and that we play in. Than they have before, So I'm definitely, even if it's a smaller Winter event or whatever event it is, I think you got to be happy for what it is and take it as an opportunity nonetheless. So I think a lot less guys are going to be complaining than they were before because this lockdown has shown how much we really need golf and us players need tournaments, regardless of what event it is.
Yeah, I mean, I saw on Luke's Instagram yesterday, he said, I think he had a post of like his bag and gloves and balls and stuff, and he was like, just the daily reminder or the weekly reminder, whatever it was, that I'm actually of what I actually do for a living. Because I think it's been so long since you guys have played. But if you don't mind, can I ask you a few quick fire questions, like 5? They'll be very quick.
No problem. Yeah.
So, who do you most like to play practice rounds with on tour?
I'd probably say Victor Langer, Chris Cannon, Jared Harvey.
Victor would actually be quite a good egg to get on the podcast because I think he was actually the first pro golfer to be diagnosed with COVID. So that's
he put me into a 2-week quarantine.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I was with him on the Saturday before he got tested. He got tested on the Monday. So he phoned me. I was with him the whole day, and he phoned me. Said, "I've just tested positive. You one of the guys I was with, so I had to go take a test. Luckily, I tested negative, but the doctor still said to me like, you should just do a 2-week quarantine just because of the fact you've been in contact with someone."
Jeez, dude, that's so hectic.
Yeah, I know. So I did 2 weeks quarantine because of Victor, and then straight after I did 2 weeks quarantine, we went into lockdown. So
that's sure, that's a wild story. I'm glad I actually asked you that question. Wouldn't have known that otherwise.
Yeah.
And your favorite tour stop?
Say Dardata fan court, definitely.
Epic. And which of the 3 courses do you most like?
It's a tough one. I would say the links. Yeah.
Sure, you wouldn't have many amateurs saying that, eh? No, I said you wouldn't have many amateurs saying that their favorite is the links.
No, trust me, I've seen the one guy I played with my first year. I think he might have ran out of golf balls, honestly, on like the 14th or 15th hole.
That's wild.
Because it was a fairway and then bush on both sides. And I mean, I've got a bit of patience, so I'm not too bad. Like when you play with amateurs and stuff, but I can't remember the pro. I'm not going to name drop on the podcast here. But he wasn't all that happy that it took this amateur like 15 minutes to play every single golf shot.
Achievements. Yeah, I can imagine that. I'll just make you want to tear your hair out. And which event on the schedule would you most like to win?
I mean, it would have to be one of the. I would probably say SA Open, to be fair.
Epic.
Yeah.
Epic. And finally, you can have one aspect of another Sunshine Tour players' game, and so who are you going to pick and what aspect of the game?
Sure. That's a tough one. I would say driving, Donnie van Tonder. Sure. I'm trying to think. Iron play. That's tough.
Dude, you don't have to. No stress. You don't have to go through it. Hey, sorry, you sort of broke up there.
I can't even remember who's on the tour. Iron play. Who's a good iron player? Sure, it's got to be one of maybe a guy like JP Stratham. Iron play. He hits it iron nice. Short game. Sure, I don't know. A lot of guys say Mark Williams, but I haven't really played with Mark much. But they say he's got really good hands around the greens.
Yeah.
And then putting, I'd probably say JC Ritchie. Just make so many clutch putts, like.
Yeah, I would say what you've got to do to win the Order of Merit, eh?
No, exactly. You can't have a cold putter and expect to win events and even the Order of Merit.
Yeah, 100%. Cool, dude. But thank you so much for your time. I've kept you nearly an hour and a half, but I've really, really enjoyed this. So we'll definitely chat again soon. But thanks again, and best of luck.
Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, thanks a lot. Great.
Epic. Cheers, man.
All right. Yeah, bye.